Hey, good day. This is Paul of the House of Graber on the second day of June, 2024, coming to you on the Memoirs of a Farmer Boy platform, the platform where we talk about real life experiences of today concerning Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye may not be that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues." My goal is to share things that possibly can bring your journey out of corporate into private, a little more into focus, and to help you along the way. Everything that we bring forth on this platform at the House of Graber, at Memoirs of a Farmer Boy, is protected and safeguarded under the laws of nature and nature's God, otherwise known as the courts of heaven, otherwise known as the Ecclesia Court. All of our material, whether it's printed matter, video, audio, intellectual property, etc., is protected under these laws. Our material is also protected and safeguarded under the private registered copyright of the House of Graber. Now, when I say our material, a lot of it, that's not even really true. It's things that I've learned that I'm sharing with you. It's not mine. It's the Almighty Creator's material. So all the more reason why it would be safeguarded under protected under the laws of nature. First of all, I want to mention a couple other channels. Memoirs of a Farmer Boy is on YouTube, Rumble, and also Spotify. Then there's my lovely woman who does Homesteading Made Easy by Memoirs of a Farmer Girl, where she shows you tips on gardening and homemaking and cooking, maple syrup. There's just all kinds of good videos there that will give you a very easy to follow how-to. And there's Torch Phase. Our son Michael makes some beautiful hand-forged knives, so that's on YouTube as well. Go ahead and check those out. Click on the like button below this video, share this channel, share the video, share the channel, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, if you like the material, that is. So our goal is not so much to reach thousands and thousands and millions of people. Whether that happens or not, I'm okay with it. Our goal here is to share something of value for those that are ready to hear it. This is not about somebody that is at the top of the pile and is, you know, the master at everything in the world. This is just simply me sharing from my experience and things that I know work are usually what I talk about. Things that I'm familiar with, things that I've walked through. If it's something that I haven't done, then I'm not going to worry about acting like I know all about it, because I don't. I'm learning. I'm learning as I go. But the things that I will share with you are based on my own experiences. And also, I'm not the only one involved. When I help someone, I get to see their situation play out. And I oftentimes can see things that the one that is in the middle of the ruckus can't see. Sometimes ruckus is maybe not the right word, but the situation, whatever it is, often I can see the things from a third-party perspective. In other words, I'm not emotionally involved. I'm not the one under pressure, although I've been there. I know how that feels. So that's very helpful. Today's message, or today's topic, is a question that I have gotten from many different people over the years. And when I say over the years, I'm talking about the last 5 to 10 years, okay? Where is the enforcement? Where's the enforcement? Who's going to how are you going to enforce this? And when I talk about where's the enforcement, the question pertains to if you're going to do a private administrative process outside of the barfly system, outside of the corporate system, outside of the statutory system, what we do is foreign to the corporation because we're not part of them. That, therefore, we are foreign. That means we're not a member of their club, okay? I've gotten that question over and over again. Where's the enforcement? The first thing that I'm going to say, I'm going to be really clear about this. The first thing that I would say, based on my own experience, based on my observing other people, if you really don't know the answer to that question, that just means that you don't understand the pecking order in the universe. As far as I know, God made man. Our almighty creator made man. Then the opposite sex, female, male and female, he made them, thereby creating a union, an institution that we know as matrimony. That's the highest institution. There's the Almighty Creator. Right below that, next in line, is man and woman. From there forward, man has created a lot of things which in some cases are detrimental to man, and in other cases beneficial. And in some cases, they're detrimental because we do not comprehend how to be in command, how to, we don't comprehend how to stay up here in our position, and we stoop lower. But there's the Almighty Creator, there's man and woman, or mankind, and then there's other things, all other things. The Creator gave us dominion over everything on earth except for other men and women. So just because there's men with guns and clubs running around and grabbing victims or suspects or whatever, they call them subjects, actually. They don't, you got to pay attention to words. They don't call them men and women. They call them subject. If you listen to them on the radio, subject escaped on foot, subject secured, subject this, subject that. They're looking for subjects. But to keep this conversation a little bit more focused, just because a man or a woman with guns and clubs, or men and women with guns and clubs, just because they go around and grabbing people and put them in jail, put them in cuffs and throw them behind bars, based on an accusation, there's been absolutely no due process. Excuse me. There's been absolutely no due process. There's been no process, period. Other than thugs with guns and clubs kidnapping someone and throwing them behind bars and holding them for ransom. And yes, you heard that right. That's kidnapping. Now, the codes and statutes do not affect we the people. The ones that are affected or should be affected by the codes and statutes are the officers of the corporation, the agents that are under oath, and they're bonded to that corporation, such as police officers and etc. Based on that contractual agreement that they have and that they're under oath to, kidnapping and or attempted kidnapping, there's 3 different penalties listed as potential penalties for those crimes. Kidnapping and attempted kidnapping are crimes. Jail time, fines, and the death penalty. Those are the 3 that are listed in their statutes for them. Now, I would venture to say that those things are also crimes in God's world, in the laws of nature. Those things are real crimes as well. So just because these people are doing that and getting away with it does not mean they have authority. They only have administrative right. In Scripture, we read that we have power over all the power of the enemy. And if you look at the meanings attached to those words, I don't know what the original words are that the word power has come from in this verse. And I apologize, I can't tell you exactly where to find it, but with today's technology, you can soon find it. We have power over all the power of the enemy, and it is given to us by our Creator, and nothing shall hurt us. One word used twice in the same verse, and we look at that, we just, I used to assume that it means the same thing, but it doesn't. The power that the enemy has is seriously deficient. The power that he gave us, that the Almighty Creator gave us, has 13 qualifications that the power of the enemy does not have. The only power the enemy has is consent from his victim. 13 qualifications. If you look it up in the, there was some kind of commentary or something that I looked it up in. And several of those that I remember clearly: authority and right. 2 of them that I remember clearly. I remember there was 13 qualifications, the power that we have, over the power that the enemy has. So the 2 times that the word power is used there in that one verse is very different. In other words, the king's children are the ones that have authority. We, the people. Now, let's go back to the question, where is the enforcement? I'm going to share a little experience. I met a man at Westville in the beginning of 2015. I went there on, matter of fact, this very day, 2nd day of January 2015. I went to Westville, Indiana in the middle of the cold. It was cold, and Westville prison facility is the scum pit of all the prison facilities that I know of in Indiana. If there's any that are worse, then I pity those people. These buildings are old and dilapidated, and The shower, in a lot of cases, is a little pipe sticking out of the wall, broken bricks all over the place. And on the other side of the shower, you know, behind you, the cockroaches come up and sit in the hole and watch you take a shower. These buildings were built in the 40s. Same windows, except they're broken and busted. So I met a man there that at this point in time, I'd been locked up for a total of just over a year and a half, just over 18 months. And this man had been locked up for, I believe, 10 years. Yeah, I'm going to say 10 years. He had a total sentence of 30 and was serving 15. So I think it was about 10 years. And he carried a lot of heat with him. In other words, there was always trouble brewing wherever he went. Okay. And he was, God only knows what kind of fights he'd been in before I met him. And I tried to, I worked with him and prayed with him and tried to get him to settle down a little bit, you know, cool it. We spent quite a bit of time together, talking, having conversations. Just it was a different experience. One morning, now he was working in the kitchen, which meant he left the dorm at like 7 or 7:30 in the morning and came back at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And he comes to my cell and he says, "Can you pray with me?" I said, "Sure." So the deal was there was tension building between the blacks and the whites, which is pretty dumb because I asked some of these guys at one point while I was in prison. I said, "Well, what are you gaining by fighting? Who stands to win when anybody fights, for that matter, but when the blacks and the whites are fighting each other, who's winning or who's gaining or who stands to gain the most?" Well, I'll tell you, it's not the people that are fighting. They're not standing to gain anything except get hurt. So there was a racial tension was brewing in this dorm, and there was a certain individual that I would say was driving it. And then there was also a certain individual that was the target. The man that I had befriended was a target for the most part. He came over and he asked me to pray with him, and I did. We prayed for not only his safety, but for, you know, things to just dissipate, quiet down. I don't remember what I said. It was very short and brief. But I did not pray just because I wanted to soothe, calm his feelings, although it did that. I didn't pray just to be his hero. I did not pray to, in other words, I had an intention of what we wanted to accomplish, and it was short and sweet. It was very brief. This was around 7:30 in the morning. So soon after that, he leaves for work. And somewhere about mid-afternoon, I guess it was about 10:30-ish, I was sitting in my cell and I was reading and writing, and, you know, which I did a lot of. And I hear this yelling and screaming up the aisle, you know, up the hallway. And I poke my head out the door and I look up there, and by the officer station, there's, guys running my way, trying to get mace out of their eyes and trying to get away from it. What had happened was the instigator of this, at least one of the main ones, the one that was building tension, and one of his own brothers. The second one was being moved off the dorm. And this leader wanted something that he had, and they got into an argument because he was within minutes of walking out the door with his box. So they couldn't, it had to be dealt with right then and there, is what they thought. So they got into a fight. The Sarge opened his door and maces them, and there was other guys that got caught with it, and some ugly crap. They both got shipped off. They both got moved off the dorm. And long before my friend came back from the kitchen, it was super peaceful on that dorm. Everything was cooled down. The tension was gone. It was just the energy had broken. And that was it. It was calmed down. The tension was gone. The fight was over before it started. Because by normal procedure, the normal course of how those things went, we were within maybe a day or maybe just hours of a big fight, and could have been very big, or it could have been just, a few guys. My point is, where's the enforcement? I explained to my friend at that point, I said, I also have fights to take care of, but those get fought while I'm sitting on my bunk, doing the hard part, thinking and visualizing. I just have a different way of approaching it. And he saw firsthand, he didn't see it, but he realized for the first time, I believe, in his life, that we really do have authority. Maybe he didn't realize it to the extent that he could have, but he got a taste of it. The authority lies with the living soul, the people, not with some corporate agent of a dead corporation. The living man or woman is the top authority. If you hire on to fill an office, let's say, I don't know, let's use a police officer, for example. When he or she, when they step into that office, they have stepped down. They've become a servant. President of the United States, same thing. He's stepped into an office which is lower than we the people. And when I say lower than, I'm not trying to degrade anyone. It's not the man or woman that is lower. It's the office that is lower. And when they step into that office, they are now occupying that office, and they are functioning as an officer of that office, which is subject to mankind. Man created the office, and therefore the office is the creation and is subject to the creator, which is man. Just like you and I are subject to our creator. There's a higher power. And I don't profess to have the answers to all that. But most of us agree that there's a higher power, a God, a creator, an almighty creator of the universe that created us. What if we would say, I don't like the way he did things. I'm going to fix him. I'm going to tell him where he's wrong. When the creation tries to fix the creator, it becomes a mess. It becomes a disaster. And that's why churches and courts and all kinds of organizations that try to fix marriage don't get it done most of the time. They make a mess of it. They make it worse. Because mankind, the living soul, is where the authority is. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot more as far as giving you examples, but the example that I gave you of the tension breaking up in a fight that was getting ready to happen just went away. That is enforcement. Let me ask you a question. Where was the enforcement when the 3 Hebrew men were thrown in a furnace? Where was the enforcement, and why did they not die? It is my comprehension that they walked out of there unscathed, didn't even smell like smoke. The men that threw them in there weren't even in the fire, and they died from the heat. Where was that enforcement? Where is the enforcement that kept Daniel safe overnight amongst a den of starving lions? Evidently, his accusers didn't have any of that same enforcement because they were torn to pieces before they hit the ground. Where was that enforcement? Where was the enforcement that put Joseph ahead of his family by many years and put him in a position so that he was there to rescue them? Where was the enforcement that caused the walls of Jericho to just crumble and collapse? And these giants were, I wasn't there, but I'm going to say they were shaking in their shoes and scared like crazy before it even happened. They knew what was coming. The real enforcement is when we know who we are and we stand in our authority that is given to us by our Creator. Just today, I read a post on a Telegram channel. There was some mention of people that, some of the names I've heard before that were big time in the patriot movement, is what I'm going to say. And there was a mention made of their lives being threatened, and their response was that, well, evidently we're doing something right if we're getting the attention, that kind of attention, where our lives are where we're getting calls and being threatened. If other people want to do that, that's on them. Here's where I stand. This is for everyone that comes into contact with this information that I put on the Rumble and YouTube and wherever it goes. This is for everyone. Whether you're a godly and righteous soul that lives in integrity and benefits mankind, or whether you're some kind of scumbag that tries to stop people from exercising their freedom, or whether I don't care. This is for everyone. We, the people, the living souls, We live under a almighty creator. And I don't know about other people, but as for me and my house, we serve the one true living God that protects us. And to use some bully that's threatening someone as a barometer of no, I'm not. That's a bunch of bunk. That's a bunch of bunk. We are protected. There was a sheriff that held me for 22 days without authority, without my consent, without my creator's. He had no consent whatsoever. He simply held me hostage in solitary confinement for 22 days. And I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to break me. They were trying to get me to do something really crazy so they could declare me a nutcase or whatever. Less than a year later, he was buried, died of cancer. Less than 1 year. And he was told on the phone by my beautiful woman, these agents were warned. She said, I want you to know that you are being watched. I don't know if she even comprehended what she did, but she activated a law that is mightier than anything you can put your hands on, because it's not physical. It is, but not like that. That wasn't my choice. I told them when I came there, they wanted me to confess to some kind of, they wanted me to answer some questions and confess to something that they had going on so that they could book me. And I refused to do it. I said, it was your choice to bring me here. That wasn't my idea. Now you go ahead and figure it out. They never did book me. But he held me anyway. Less than a year later, he was buried. His body was. I can't prove why anything happened there. That's not my point. I'm just saying, and I've reminded some of the agents at this county jail and at this sheriff's office of this, and they don't like to hear that. Well, I wouldn't either if I was in their shoes. But I'm telling you what happened. And I'm also telling you that I serve an almighty God that protects me. These agents of doom and gloom can go fly a kite as far as I'm concerned. I'm not buying their line. Because usually when agents they start out with a bunch of doom and gloom and a fear package, they're setting you up to sell you something else. It's a bunch of horse hockey. I'm not buying that. I serve an almighty God that he promised to protect me, and I figure his promises are pretty, he's going to stay good to his word. So why are we not standing on his promises? Why are we buying into the fear package? Why are we even asking the question, where is the enforcement? This is about what I see. It's not about what I think of anyone, good, bad, or indifferent. It's not a judgment call on anyone. It's a judgment on the conditioning that we've been subjected to. When somebody asks me, where's the enforcement and or you can't enforce that, or where is the enforcement? It shows me that the brainwashing has been deep for me just as well as anybody else. The conditioning has been effective. My people perish for lack of knowledge, Hosea 4:6. With that, I'm going to wish you an amazing day, and not only an amazing day, but an amazing life of prosperity, goodness, and all of God's blessings that he promised to give us. Until next time, have a good day.